On the 26th of November, 1930, a news article was published on the front page of Canada's The Meriden Daily Journal newspaper, titled "Village of the Dead." This news spread a wave of fear across Canada because, in North Canada, an entire tribe had vanished overnight without leaving a trace. Welcome once again to Tales of the Past. Friends, this is Anjikuni Lake, located in the remote region of North Canada. On the shore of this lake, a small settlement of the Eskimo tribe existed. Around 100 to 150 people lived here, surviving by catching fish from the lake. This is the part of North Canada where, across thousands, no, even millions, of square kilometers, only a few thousand people reside, and the reason is the harsh weather. Apart from fishing in Anjikuni Lake, hunting of other animals in the surrounding areas also takes place, and many hunters frequently visit here. It was one of the coldest days of November 1930 when a hunter named Joe LaBelle came to this area for hunting. He became so engrossed in his hunt that he did not realize when darkness had fallen. He had an idea in his mind that, like before, he would go to the Eskimo tribe near Lake Anjikuni and spend the night there. The people of this tribe were quite famous for welcoming outsiders warmly. So, Joe LaBelle packed his belongings and started heading toward the Eskimo settlement. It was a full moon night, but there was complete silence all around. Neither was there anyone in sight, nor was there any sound. He could only hear the sound of his own footsteps. Although he had done this before, tonight, something felt abnormal. Normally, whenever he approached the settlement, he would hear dogs barking, as the villagers had kept them as pets. But that night, even after getting close to the village, there was only silence. Sensing something unusual, Joe increased his pace. He thought perhaps the villagers were asleep or had gone somewhere. From a distance, he could now see the village tents, and smoke was rising from some of them, indicating that there were people inside. But even after getting closer, he could not hear a single sound. Finally, when Joe LaBelle entered the village, he was utterly shocked. There were no people and no animals. But what was even more surprising was that smoke was still rising from some homes as if someone was inside. He randomly entered one tent, but it was empty, and the same was the case with every other tent. Perhaps Joe might have ignored everything and left, but one thing disturbed him even more. In some houses, cooking pots were still placed on the stoves, but the food inside was burnt. This meant that someone had started cooking for the night, but had not eaten it. Even the women's sewing work was left incomplete, with needles still threaded. It seemed as if the villagers had left in a hurry, but the question was, where did they go? Joe LaBelle started searching the entire village. He saw that the dogs, tied to ropes, had died of starvation. Although food was present in front of them, there was no one to feed them. Imagine their agony. At one spot, he saw a freshly dug grave, which looked very recent. Seeing all this, Joe LaBelle's fear and anxiety increased immensely. Witnessing this eerie scene alone in the night, he became terrified. In this region, whenever people go anywhere, they always take their dogs with them. But seeing this, it seemed like something unnatural had happened. Something so sudden that the people had been forced to leave everything behind. Their dogs, their clothes, their food, and even their burning fires. Joe couldn't bear to stay any longer and rushed to the nearest telegraph office. From there, he contacted the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, and narrated everything he had witnessed. When the police arrived in the village, they found everything exactly as Joe had described. The police suspected that perhaps the village had been attacked and that all the villagers had been killed. But if that were the case, there would have been bloodstains somewhere. And if it were a violent attack, some signs of struggle or scattered belongings, would have been found. The police immediately launched a search operation to find the villagers. During this search, a bizarre discovery was made, something even Joe had not noticed. The entire village was covered in snow, yet there were no footprints, not a single trace of anyone leaving. The only footprints in the village were Joe LaBelle's own. This meant that, apart from Joe, no one had come and no one had left. Then where did the villagers go? Even Lake Anjikuni was frozen, and the villagers' canoes were still parked on the shore. In this season, fishing does not take place, so the boats had been pulled onto land. If the villagers had swum across the lake to go somewhere, or if someone had killed them and thrown them into the lake, then the layer of ice on the lake would have been broken or scattered somewhere. During the investigation, the police discovered that the villagers had been missing for around 8 days before Joe arrived. This was evident because the dogs had not died from just 1 or 2 days of hunger, and the smoke rising from the houses indicated that they had not been gone for very long. It was the kind of smoke that lingers long after wood has burned out. The police were left with countless questions, but not a single answer. After months of searching, the police officially declared the case unsolved and closed it forever. With time, people forgot about it. 50 years later, in 1984, Roger Bohr and Nigel Blundell wrote an article linking this entire incident to aliens. In their article, they claimed that while exploring the Anjikuni Lake area, they met a hunter and his 2 sons. The hunter told them that they often saw strange flying objects over the lake, with different shapes, flying towards the village where the Eskimo tribe once lived. Based on this story, the writers speculated that perhaps aliens had landed that night and abducted the entire village. However, they had no solid evidence to prove the existence of aliens or an attack. Most people did not believe their theory, and it was rejected. After this, many people began creating different stories about the disappearance of the Eskimo tribe. But the truth is, almost 100 years have passed, and to this day, no one knows the answer to this question. Where did the people of Anjikuni Lake disappear without a trace? The disappearance of the Eskimo tribe remains an unsolved mystery to this day. I hope you will like and share this video. Thank you all for your loving comments. See you in the next video.